Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to another edition of RealSmart, free real estate education for consumers. And today we're going to be taking a look at disclosures. This is part one of a two-part video. So today we're going to look at the real property disclosure. We're going to look at the affiliated business agreement disclosure, and we're also going to look at the wiring fraud disclosure. In part two, we'll look at the radon disclosure and the lead-based paint disclosure. My name's Larry Shakman. I am the team lead and broker at eXp Realty Luxe Group, and I'm also the founder at REO Property Consultants. So without any further ado, let's get right into this. I'm going to bring up the real property disclosure and let's take a look at that. So you should be looking on your screen now at the residential real property disclosure report. And this report is going to provide prospective buyers with information about material defects in the property. So anything you know about the property that you think that buyer should know, then you are going to want to disclose that. Remember, full disclosure is always the best way to go. So if you know anything about any of the systems in your property, you want to let the buyer know about that. More importantly, if you fill this out and after the buyer receives this and you accept a contract from them, then you're going to want to disclose anything that happens that's a material defect in the property after they've seen this. So keep in mind, full disclosure is always the best way to go. Let's take a look at this. So the residential real property disclosure report, up at the top, you're simply going to put the address, the commonly known address of the property. So in this case, 123 Main Street, anywhere USA, 60014. Of course, that's Mark and Mary home seller selling this home. Now, this date right here is the date you are providing this information to the seller. So if we filled it out today, it would be 7/5/2022. Now, as we scroll down, there are a series of statements here that you're going to want to either answer yes, no, or not applicable to. So for instance, seller has occupied the property within the last 12 months. No explanation is needed if you haven't occupied it, but you do want to let the buyer know if you've occupied that property within the last 12 months. So one reason that you might answer no is if this is an investment property and you've been renting it out for years or months or what have you, you would answer no. If this is your primary residence that you're living in, then of course you would answer yes. Now, as we move down, some of the questions, and we'll go over each one of these. I'm aware of flooding or recurring leakage in the property. You want to answer that, yes, no, or not applicable. In this question, you would answer yes or no. So let's say, for instance, you answered yes, and I am aware of flooding or recurring leakage problems in the crawl space or basement specifically. If you answer yes to that question, then you're going to come down here. Anything you answer yes to, you're going to put an explanation here as to why you answered yes. Now, you may have knowledge of recurring leakage in the basement that you fixed. So you might say yes, but then you might come down here and say, this was repaired in 2021, and we've had no problems since. So anything you answer yes to, you're going to want to put an explanation down in that paragraph we just looked at. So some of the other things this disclosure is going to concern itself with is, am I aware the property is located in a floodplain? Or that I currently have flood hazard insurance on the property. You want to let the prospective buyers know about that. Am I aware that the property, am I aware of material defects in the basement or foundation? Any cracks, bulges, anything going on with the foundation, buyers are going to want to know about. Continuing on, number 5, leaks or material defects in the roof, ceilings, or chimney. Material defects in the walls, windows, doors, or floors. Number 7, material defects in the electrical system. Again, if you mark yes there, you're going to want to come down and put the explanation in the paragraph below. Number 8, material defects in the plumbing system. If you have a well, then, and you know of any material defects, then, or in the well equipment, then of course you would mark it yes and put that explanation. If you don't have a well, and there's another statement down here regarding the fireplace. If you don't have a well or a fireplace, then you're just going to put not applicable. And in that paragraph below, you are simply going to put no well, no fireplace. So continuing on, some of the other things and systems, I should say, that this form is going to want you to disclose is, are you aware of any unsafe conditions in the drinking water, material defects in the heating, air conditioning, or ventilating systems? There's that question about the fireplace. Remember, if you don't have a fireplace, you're just going to check off NA, not applicable, and then under that paragraph where they ask for any explanations, you're just going to put no fireplace. Real quickly, some of the other things they ask you about are if you're on a septic, if you have a septic field, sanitary sewer, anything wrong with septic, sanitary sewer, or disposal system, you also want to disclose that. Bottom line, disclose everything. And then the other things that the real property disclosure is going to concern itself with, like for instance, is a radon. Is there any radon on the premises? Radon is a colorless, odorless gas that comes up from underground. It's all around us outside, but you do not want to concentrate it in the interior of any house. If it's over 4.0 picocuries, then you're going to want to get it mitigated, which typically costs about $1,500 to $1,800 to do, and it completely gets rid of radon. So even though you're going to fill out a radon disclosure, this real property disclosure also touches on any radon issues. So number 15, are you aware of any unsafe conditions relating to asbestos and on the premises? So sometimes old basements will have ceiling tiles that have asbestos in them. So those would have to be mitigated and removed in some cases. And that you're going to need a professional to do that to mitigate any type of asbestos tiles or asbestos in the property. And then, of course, it's number 16, any unsafe concentrations relating to lead paint. Here is another disclosure that you will fill out separately, the lead-based paint disclosure, but they will also require you to answer that here on this real property disclosure. Lead paint hasn't been used since 1978. So if you have a house that you're selling that was built after 1978, then you do not need to provide a lead-based paint disclosure. So some of the other things moving on, they're going to ask you about underground pits. They're going to ask you about infestations of termites or other wood-boring insects. Any VA loan is going to require a termite inspection. And number 19, structural defect caused by previous infestations. So this form is going to get very granular. And again, the best way to approach this form is full disclosure. Full disclosure. So that's the real property disclosure. And as we scroll down here, here's the paragraph where you're going to put your explanations, anything you checked off yes. You're going to sign and date here. The buyer will sign and date here when they submit their offer and this disclosure with their offer. And as we scroll down, the seller is going to sign right here. The buyer will put the date in here when they were provided this information. That is the real property disclosure. Remember, full disclosure, is always the best policy. So now let's move on to two other disclosures that are proprietary disclosures for eXp Realty. However, these disclosures, I'm sure most brokerages are going to require their buyers and sellers to also sign similar disclosures. So the first one we're going to look at is the affiliated business arrangement disclosure. And all this is doing is disclosing any affiliated business arrangements with lenders, with title companies, with survey companies, any company you would use that is potentially affiliated with that eXp will also get paid based on that relationship they have with that company. They're going to want you to know about, and any brokerage is going to want you to know about. So whether you're working with RE/MAX, eXp, Coldwell Banker, At Properties, whoever it may be, I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to be filling out an affiliated business arrangement disclosure from any brokerage you work with. And of course, all you're going to do is sign here, and then the buyers will sign to the right of that. So that's the affiliated business agreement disclosure. Now we're going to go to the other disclosure that is also proprietary to eXp, but I'm sure most other brokerages are going to make you sign a similar form, and that is the wiring fraud advisory notice. And we just want to let everybody know that wire fraud is real. It happens every day. Do not wire money to anybody unless you know where you're wiring it, who you're wiring it to, why you're wiring it. And without those things, do not wire money to anybody. And that's what this wiring fraud advisory notice is, just letting all of our buyers and sellers know. So those are the three disclosures we're going to cover today. And I'm going to stop sharing this right now. Those are the three disclosures we covered today: the real property disclosure, the affiliated business agreement disclosure, and the wiring fraud disclosure. Part 2, we're going to take a close look at the lead-based paint disclosure and the radon disclosure. So I hope you have found this to be interesting and has provided you with some information that'll help you when you're buying or selling. These are forms that either buyers or sellers need to be acquainted with. And thanks for joining me. My name's Larry Shakman. I'm the team lead at Luxe Group EXP, and I am the founder of REO Property Consultants. If we can help you with anything, give me a call at 630-921-0611. We're here to help you, so give us a call. Thanks for tuning in. Be on the lookout for part 2, and we'll see you at the next RealSmart, real estate education for consumers. Take care, everybody.